The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. It's Court Radio and I'm Dean Weitzman, and it is a beautiful Sunday in Philadelphia. But for the next hour, sit back and relax and enjoy legal entertainment as your questions are answered one at a time. All you got to do is give us a call, 215-227-2727. That's it. Just give us a call. We'll get your questions on the air. 215-227-2727. The only number you need for legal advice in Philadelphia, 215-227-2727. It's a whole story about how I got that number. Save it for another time. I want to talk about a lot of things today, so we're going to move right along. But one of the things I want to talk about is something we've talked about before, but I always think it requires a little renewal, and that is the tort system and what it means to have limited tort or full tort, and how that applies in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Delaware. So we're going to tackle those motor vehicle issues, those motor vehicle insurance issues as the show progresses. But let's talk about some in-the-news legal issues that have occurred this week. First of all, Shaka Fatah was found guilty of all three charges, and while he tried to hold on to his seat at least until the general election, which kind of makes sense, the Republicans forced him into a resignation immediately. So we're going to have to gear up for and pay the cost of a special election just for the next few months until the general election in November. So he is still awaiting sentencing, obviously, and we'll see what happens with that down in federal court. But unfortunately for him and his family, and for all the good work that he did for all the decades of service, it's tainted with this kind of last and worst event. So that's the story with Shaka. If you got any comments to make on that, by all means, you're welcome to join the show with a comment. All you got to do is give us a call. What else is going on? Well, the big news, Britain leaves the EU, sort of like almost, not quite, but almost like a state leaving the United States and seceding. But Britain always had a certain level of independence of the EU that all the other states didn't necessarily have. You couldn't travel freely in Britain. As soon as you entered the EU, you still had to check in with the Brits. What effect that's going to have on us, who knows? All I know is right now the stock market took a tank, and it might continue to do that, or there may be some rough days ahead. But it didn't go that far, and we'll see. I think perhaps people are making more of this than need be. But the funny thing is, the voters in Britain, at least the ones that I heard from after the vote, proclaimed that they didn't realize what the result of their vote was going to be. And I'm scratching my head and I'm thinking, that's the problem, is that, it's either one of two things. Either people don't vote, okay, or they vote and they don't know what they're voting for. They have no clue. They didn't do their research. They're swept up in a hysteria kind of, drummed up by politicians. And in this hysterical state, they run out and they pull a lever. They don't know what they're doing. And then they go back to their house and they realize, wow, my retirement plan just went from 100 to 50 overnight. And the pound, our pound that was so strong in the world, is now laughed at. Oh my! If I knew this, I wouldn't have voted for seceding, for the exit. Come on, folks. You know, if you're gonna pull a lever, you got to know what you're pulling it for, and you got to kind of educate yourself on the pros and cons of your vote, the ins and outs, the ups and downs. And otherwise, you know, you might as well go buy Bounty or something. Like you're just you're listening to 30-second commercials, and you're not making informed decisions. Anyway, if you got some comments on that or the voting issue, because we got our own votes coming up. You know, can you imagine Donald Trump as the president of the United States? Could you just imagine it? Maybe some of you can. I guess some of you can. You know, he did well on the Republican side. If you're a Donald Trump fan or not, give us a call. I'd like to hear it because, you know, the day he's elected, if that happens, there is some cataclysmic events going on. And I hope you don't have to rely upon a job because I think that unemployment's going to shoot up for a little while. And I hope that, you know, you don't have too much in the stock market because that's going to tank because nobody trusts him. You know, it's funny we should use the word trust with Hillary Clinton because she's got her own issues there. But at least she's got experience. We know that she's going to bring in the right team of people. And it's, you know, but I also definitely appreciate the fact that people want change. You know, it's like we're tired of the same old, same old. But I don't think the answer is to jump off the side of a cliff. You know, we need change, but we need intelligent change. We need change that makes sense for our country. Not just any change. Because if we want any change, then you're going to wake up on the day after elections and find that you're feeling the same way the Brits did the day after their election. Like, whoa, what did I do? 215-227-2727. I know we got off on some crazy topics, but if you've got some comments on them, by all means, give us a call. All right, let's talk to a listener. Let's talk to Jesse from Northeast Philly on line 4. Good morning, Jesse.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm well, thanks, and thanks for getting up so early and being the first caller for Court Radio. I want you to stay on the line because I'm going to give this back to our trusty producer, Monica, who's going to get your address when I'm done with you, and we'll get you a Court Radio T-shirt that you can wear proudly.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. What's your question, sir?
My question, I actually had two questions. My question is in a post-conviction relief hearing. What is an evidentiary hearing, and what is the difference between a court-appointed attorney and a public defender?
Okay. Well, an evidentiary hearing is just what it sounds like. You're going to hear evidence versus just making appellate legal arguments, like the judge made a mistake on this and the judge made a mistake on that. That's your normal appellate hearing following a trial. But when it's an evidentiary hearing, they're actually going to possibly see, hear, feel, touch new evidence that was not produced at the time of trial. Evidence that may be withheld by the public, by the district attorney's office, or was unavailable to either side at that time. I mean, there's reasons why there would be an evidentiary hearing following a trial, and that's what's going to happen. And as far as public defender and private counsel, the same. I mean, they have the same obligations. They have to zealously represent their client and do all they can to, put forth their client's bona fide legal positions. One gets paid by the client, the other gets paid by the state. But what they do and how they do it should be exactly the same.
Understand. I got you. All right.
All right, Jesse. Thanks for calling Core Radio, and have a great Sunday.
All right. Do I still hold for my free T-shirt?
You do. Just hold on the line.
All right.
215-227-2727. They're coming in fast, guys. We're still live here, Eric.
Every Sunday is a thing called Court Radio.
Yeah, he's talking about Core Radio. 215-227-2727. Let me see here. Let's talk to Charmaine from Northeast Philly on line 5, Eric. Here we go. Line 5. We got early morning confusion in the studio. Hey, Charmaine. Charmaine.
Yes. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, dear. Turn your radio down.
Oh, okay. I think.
All right. It's just you and I, and don't even worry about the rest of the 27,000 people listening to you.
Wow.
All right, Charmaine from Northeast Philly. By the way, where in the Northeast are you residing these days?
I live in Tacony.
Tacony. Okay. Very well. So tell us what it is that caused you to call today.
I listen to you every Sunday on my way to church.
Thank you.
Every Sunday. But my question is, I was in a car accident last week, and my car got totaled. A young man hit me from the back, and he rear-ended me and sent me up under a truck. And it totaled my car, but I only have liability.
Yeah.
So I called you because I hear you talk about it all the time. So I said, I'm going to call Dean and let him explain it to me, because you hear so many people tell you different stories, you don't know which way to go.
Right. Okay, so here's the deal. As long as now you have when a client tells me that they have liability only, I presume that is a basic policy. You have no comp or collision, so your vehicle doesn't have any protection. You have limited tort, so your body has less protection, and you don't have uninsured and underinsured motorists. So if you're unfortunate enough to be struck by somebody who doesn't have insurance, you're really in bad shape. And so you have what you need to be legal, but you're really not protected, okay? Nor is your car. But in this scenario, you're rear-ended. It's not your fault. Did the person who hit you have insurance?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Then you are free to collect for your property damage and for your pain and suffering if you've sustained an injury, so long as, and it's good that you called because we're going to talk about this later, so long as your injuries in Pennsylvania are serious. If your injuries are serious, then you can collect for all your damage, for your bodily injury damage. If your injuries are not serious and you're limited tort, you get a big goose egg. You get nothing. But you have coverage. With a basic policy, you have coverage that pays for your medical expenses. So if you have an injury, you should explore it. You should see if it, you should go to see a doctor, and you should see what needs to be done for your injury. And in that process, if it turns out that, hey, this really is a serious injury, it's not going to go away, and I'm going to deal with this for a long time, then maybe you have a claim for your compensation for your bodily injuries. So you're not out of the game just yet, but you do need to come into the office, get signed up, and then pursue your claim and get to a doctor.
I don't have the strength right now. I didn't get it.
All right, Charmaine. I hope I wasn't talking to the other 27,000 people who didn't need that advice.
Because I'm listening.
Okay, dear. All right, give us a call during the week, 215-227-2727. We'll make an appointment, get you in, get you signed up, and get you on your way.
All right, Dean. Thank you so much.
All right, Charmaine. I'll look forward to seeing you at the office this week.
All right.
All right, take care. Folks, if you've got legal issues, we probably have the answer. Doesn't happen often when I take I got to get back to you on that. So just queue on up and get into the line, 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Wright on line 3, Eric.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, Mr. Dean. How you doing this morning?
I'm well, thanks. What's your name?
Miss Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T.
Miss Wright, welcome to Court Radio, and thanks for listening. How are you today?
Fine, and we thank God for waking us all up this morning.
Yes, amen to that.
Hi, I was calling in something about grandparents, great-great-grandparents. What rights do the grandparents have rights? Great-great-grandparents have rights?
Yes, they do. But they don't have the rights that a parent has, but it really depends on the relationship between the grandparent and the grandchild. Now, the grandparents get a lot more rights if the grandchild lived with the grandparents, and then the mom and dad take the grandchild away from the grandparents. Then the grandparents have almost the same rights as parents. I mean, they're entitled to see that child, have a custody order entered in their favor, etc. It's always what's in the best interest of the child. That's what guides the court in all of these decisions.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Can I ask you another question?
Mm-hmm.
Say for instance, when it's time to go to court, who goes in the courtroom? Do it be the father and the mother?
Well,
or do it be the mother, the father, and the grandmothers, and the great-great-grands?
It depends. The court can decide who, unlike regular trials, these family court matters can be private, and the court can issue an order from the bench saying, we're just going to have X people in the courtroom right now until the other people need to come in maybe to testify, but they might not be able to participate in the entire hearing. Especially true if the court feels like it's going to upset the child. If the child's in the courtroom, they may take extraordinary measures in that instance. So who's going to be in the courtroom, I really can't tell you until that day happens.
And one more thing. Isn't it good for them to get a lawyer to help them out?
Absolutely.
If they have a disability?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, if a grandparent wants to pursue their claim, I think they are well advised that they're going to need to have representation in order to put forth the most convincing case.
Oh, okay. And do I have a number if I want to call you in the middle of the week?
Ms. Wright, you can always call my Philly lawyer at 215-227-2727. The same number you call Court Radio is the same number for my Philly lawyer. You call us during the week, and we have a team of lawyers that do domestic relations, and so which is what your question falls under. And so we'd put you in touch with probably Irina Shiloh from our office, and Irina would be happy to sit down with you and answer your questions.
Okay, and where y'all located at?
We have two offices. Well, you're helping. This is like a commercial. We have two offices. We have one in Center City, Philadelphia, at 1500 JFK Boulevard, right across from what was the
Clothespin?
Yeah, not across from the Clothespin. We're on JFK and Clothespin's on Market. We're across from where the Love statue used to be, but now they tore that park up right now.
Yeah, I know where you at now.
Okay, we're on the 14th floor at 2 Penn Center, and then we're also in the Northeast on Bustleton Avenue in the 10,000 block of Bustleton at Bustleton near Philmont.
Well, I think I'm more closer to downtown.
Yeah, I think so too. I see that you're calling from West Philly.
Cows Park section.
There you go. Proud and be right. Have a great Sunday, okay?
And do I get a T-shirt?
Oh, yes. Hold on.
And have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Hold on. Monica's going to get your address and get a T-shirt. Okay, hold on. All right. Ms. Wright, she tackled me with 3 questions and a T-shirt. God bless her and let her live 120 years. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to, on line 5, Eric Roosevelt from South Philly. Good morning and welcome to Court Radio.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And
question for you.
Yep.
Now, I was in an accident about a year ago. Somebody rear-ended me. Now, I know I have limited tort, but I did go to the doctor and discovered I had a permanent injury in my back. Now, the lawyer I got gave me a settlement of $6,500. So I told him, I said, you know what? I wasn't really satisfied with it, so I told him, look, let me let another lawyer look at it. He told me I can't do that.
Of course you can have another lawyer look at it,
So he won't give me he won't sign off on it, and he said that's the maximum I can get. I said, well, can I have another lawyer look at it? It shouldn't be a problem, but he won't give me my fee.
Okay, well, you have to go, you know what you have to do? You got to go to the doctor's offices and sign a authorization for release of information and tell them you want your records, okay? So the lawyer also has a ethical obligation to provide you with your file because you are the owner of your file in a law relationship. Now, he can ask you to pay to have that file copied or what have you, but he can't prejudice your claim by holding on to that file. So, you can do this one of two ways. You can just go to the doctor and get the meat of your records so another lawyer can look at those records. And that should be enough. Or you can go back and force the lawyer to give you his file by saying, listen, I'm trying to do this the right way, and I want to see my file, and I want it to be looked at by another attorney. And, of course, if I move, he's still going to get a piece of the settlement. And he should. He's represented you now for a year. And so if you were to go to another lawyer and that lawyer took the case and settled the case, the first lawyer deserves a piece of that settlement.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Right. So, you're just going to tell him, look, I'm not trying to beat you here. I mean, I just want to have my file looked up for another pair of eyes. And if I choose,
that's it. That's exactly what I want.
Right, and you're being reasonable. It sounds to me like you're entitled to everything you're asking for, and you can do it one of two ways: go to the doctor and get your records, or go to the lawyer and push the issue and tell him, look, you got to give me my records, and if you don't, I'm going to file a complaint with the disciplinary board, because a lawyer can't hold your records hostage. It's just not right, and so at the end of the day, he's got to give it up, and he will.
Right, because if I don't sign no document settling no case,
then it can't get settled. You're the man, who controls whether this case gets settled or not, and they need your signature on a release in order for your case to end. And if you don't sign a release, then the case continues on. Now, bear in mind that if a lawsuit hasn't been filed and you get to 2 years and you still haven't signed that release, your case is done. Okay, the lawyer needs to.
Okay, I'm gonna call him up. I'm gonna call him up to Monday and get my case. He won't give it to me, like I said. I don't know why.
But now we're going to talk. Listen, I'm going to use you as an example because we're going to talk about limited tort right now. I got to get started with this. So sit back and listen to the discussion anyway. And if you have other questions, give us a call.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Roosevelt. Bye bye. Okay, let's talk for a moment, folks. We're almost at that half-hour mark, but we're going to talk for a little while about limited tort, and then I'm going to take questions from the studio audience afterwards. In Pennsylvania, you can choose to have limited tort. I think it's a foolhardy decision, but that's your choice. If you meet with your insurance agent or you go online and you compare and contrast, and this goes back to our election discussion. You have to be informed consumers about politicians, and you got to be informed consumers about insurance. The insurance industry is huge and wealthy, and they want to beat you down. Now, if you want to play in their ballpark, you got to know the rules at least. And then if you decide, hey, I'm going to save $50 a year, and that $50 is going to be important to me, so let me take this insurance versus that insurance, I'm all for it. Like if a client comes in and says, look, I compared limited and full tort, and I was going to save enough money that I just had to choose the limited tort, I'm okay with that. Then you're an informed decision maker. I'm cool with that. But most of my clients come in and go, hey, if I had known what you tell me now, Dean, because the insurance agent didn't tell me this, if I had only known that, I never would have gotten that insurance. Well, guess what? The responsibility to know that is on your shoulders. You're the guy or the woman who's buying the insurance. All right, so let's just talk for a moment. Limited tort means that you give up the right, not against your company per se, but against every insurance company in Pennsylvania. You give up the right to have them compensate you for your pain and your suffering and your aggravation caused by their insureds. Okay, you're an innocent victim caused by their insureds. You give up that right to collect for your compensation unless your injuries are serious. And the question, nobody asked yet, and I don't have a good answer for it. What is a serious injury? Well, it depends. What might be serious to you might not be serious to a judge or a jury. And so, Roosevelt might think, hey, I got a serious injury because they found some defect in my spine. But guess what? If that defect isn't causing Roosevelt to miss time from work, if it's not interfering with his life, his enjoyment of life, if he didn't have to go get some really serious treatment like injections or surgery, and all he did was get some hot packs and cold packs, and he happened to have found a defect in his spine, but it isn't all that symptomatic, then maybe Roosevelt's case isn't a serious case, and maybe his attorney's advice to take the $6,500 is sound advice. That might be. Roosevelt doesn't know the answer to that. He wants to find that out, and that's why he wants his file. But I'm telling you, you have somewhat of an uphill battle with limited tort. Now, limited tort doesn't apply all the time. It doesn't apply if you're hit by a drunk driver who has insurance. Okay, if you get hit by a drunk driver, they're convicted, then you're full tort against that person and his insurance company. If you're hit by an out-of-state driver, so somebody from Jersey comes across the bridge and bam, rear ends you, you're automatically full tort against the Jersey insurance company. Okay? But if you're hit by a Pennsylvania driver in Pennsylvania, then you got to deal with this tort threshold. And I'm telling you, it doesn't save you a heck of a lot of money in the long run over the course of a year. So I would think everybody should be full tort because, frankly, if you have one accident in 10 years that you decide to pursue because you've been caused to sustain injuries, one accident in the course of 10 years, and you probably will have made up that difference in the premiums. So, it's always risk and reward, and when you're dealing with insurance companies, you have to kind of weigh these things out. But I think limited tort is a bad decision, and I think that's why. And if you don't believe me, how come every time folks go to get insurance, the insurance agent doesn't even talk to them about full tort? He just talks to them about limited tort and getting the right insurance, just getting the insurance you need to be legal. Why would they push? Why wouldn't they push to have a more expensive policy sold to their insureds? I mean, that's always what people try to do, right? If you're in business, you want to upsell, so you want to give somebody something that costs you more, that costs them more money, so you make more money. Why in the insurance industry do they do the opposite? Do they try to push the limited tort insurance policies onto their insureds? Because it caps the risk of the insurance company. They'd rather make 95% of the premium and know that they'll never have to pay you anything rather than make 100% of the premium but expose themselves to greater risk. And so right there, they're smart folks. If they're trying to push limited tort, it's no good for you. No good, no good, no good. And most of the time, when you get these limited tort policies, these basic, hey, I just need to be legal policies, you don't have uninsured or uninsured, underinsured or uninsured motorist. And we're going to talk about what that is. But sticking on tort for 1 second, there's two other states nearby here, right? We have New Jersey and we have Delaware. Delaware doesn't have a tort threshold, okay? You can't buy a limited tort policy. God bless the politicians in Delaware, because you get the full benefit of a full policy no matter what. And so if you're in Delaware, you're cool. You don't have any problems with tort issues. If you're in New Jersey, it's different. In New Jersey, you have the same. It's verbal threshold and zero threshold. That's verbal threshold is the equivalent of limited tort, and zero threshold the equivalent of full tort. And so in New Jersey, you want to buy a policy that's zero threshold. Now, the interesting thing is in Pennsylvania, you actually have to sign something that says, I don't want limited tort. Okay? And if you don't sign any papers in Pennsylvania, they have to give you full tort. In New Jersey, it's completely the opposite. They automatically will give you verbal threshold, which is why most people there have it. The only way you get zero threshold is if you choose it, and you have to sign papers to get it. So be careful in New Jersey. Understand what you're giving up. And it's not the same as in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, you need a serious injury. In New Jersey, you need a permanent injury. Okay, and sometimes a serious injury is a permanent injury, but not always. But in New Jersey, you need a permanent injury, something that will affect you in a real way for the rest of your life. And with a permanent injury, you can make a claim even if you're a verbal threshold. These are some of the things, nuances, and we'll get into more. But let's, do we have time for a caller, Eric? No. All right. Listen, folks, if you're on the line, just stay tuned. I promise you I'm going to get to your calls as soon as we get back from break. But just to wrap up, you got limited tort and full tort in Pennsylvania, verbal threshold and zero threshold in New Jersey, and no threshold in that itsy-bitsy little state called Delaware. So we'll be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. You've had an accident and can't work, but your legal case seems like it's taking forever, and the bills are piling up. At ThriveVest.com, we're here to help. If you have a pending lawsuit, call us at 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com has flexible solutions to get you money now. And if your case doesn't settle or you don't receive an award, you owe us nothing. Call 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com. Get the money you need to get on with your life.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman, and this is Court Radio, where we tackle your legal questions one at a time. All you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. And today, we're talking tort. We're talking about what it is to have limited tort. What rights do you give up? What do you hold on to? And let's talk to Brenda from Norristown, who has a tort question. Hey, Brenda, welcome to Court Radio, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking my call. My question is, as you were talking about tort, I have a disabled niece. She was in her attendant's car, and the attendant was talking and gabbing, wasn't looking where she was going, and ran into a parked car, which totaled her car, but injured my niece, who was in the front seat, with a fractured knee. Took her to the hospital last night, fractured thumb, neck injury with a brace. So I want to know, how does that apply to the passenger?
All right. That's a wonderful question, Brenda, and I'm going to give you the answer. So the question I have to ask you back is, does your niece own a motor vehicle?
No, she does not.
Does your niece reside with a resident relative who owns an insured vehicle?
Yes, she does. She lives with a cousin.
Okay. So in Pennsylvania, you actually are bound by the threshold chosen by your home policy, as long as it's either your policy or the policy of a resident relative. So if she lives with somebody who's legally her relative, then their policy would inure to her benefit. So she would get her medical expenses paid by the cousin's policy. And if the cousin chose limited tort, she's limited tort. It has nothing to do with the car she's in.
Mm-hmm.
So the car you're in cannot make you limited tort. It's the policy at home that makes you limited tort. So your niece would be limited tort if her cousin chose limited tort. But there are exceptions. Now, first of all, let me say this. Based on the description of the injuries you gave with broken bones, I would say her injuries are serious. So I think, my opinion is that based on that description, she probably would pierce that threshold and not be bound. In other words, as soon as you prove a serious injury, you're the equivalent of full tort at that point. Even if you have a limited tort policy at home, you're full tort because you have what is required, a serious injury, and then you're entitled to be compensated for all your injuries. So, just a little, so the record's clear. Bring your niece down to the office tomorrow. Okay, bring her in. Okay. Bring her in this week. We would absolutely sign her, and we would happily represent her in this claim. She's not at fault.
Okay, that's what I was concerned about. You're saying going after my niece. So the attorneys would go after my niece's insurance.
No,
and not the person whose car that has insurance.
No. But in Pennsylvania, the medical expenses only are paid for by our personal insurance at home, regardless of fault. We have a no-fault system in Pennsylvania. So our insurance pays for our own medical expenses. Her pain and suffering, all the other claims, the valuable claims that she has, would be levied against the at-fault driver, the host vehicle. Okay. So there's two, in almost every claim I represent somebody in, there's two insurance companies that we make a claim against. One is for medical expenses only. The other is called a third-party claim, and that's for your bodily injury liability claim.
Okay.
Got it?
That sounds good. I do, and I appreciate that. And your Northeast office, since I'm in Norristown, I guess Northeast may be closest.
I'm not so sure about that. I think.
Okay, well, Pennsylvania is 1500 JFK.
Yep, 1500 JFK. And let me tell you one last thing. For clients who have a difficult time getting in because of mobility issues or transportation issues, my Philly lawyer will always arrange transportation with one of our drivers to pick up your family member. So that shouldn't even be a concern. You just give us a call and we'll handle the whole thing from there.
I certainly will. Tomorrow morning, at what time does the office open?
Office opens at 9 a.m. And you will talk.
I appreciate that. And this might be the second time. I never listened to your program fully, just in radio clips. What is your name?
I'm Dean Weitzman.
Dean Weitzman.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
That's okay, Brenda. That. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Keep on listening, and I'll see you this week I'll personally see you this week down at the office if you come in with her.
Okay. Thank you. I will.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 215-227-2727. That's the number for Court Radio on Sunday mornings, but it's also the number for My Philly Lawyer all week long. If you've got legal issues, if you've got a motor vehicle accident and you want representation, that's the number you need to call, and we'll get you in promptly. Let's talk to Yolanda from North Philly on line 1. Good morning, Yolanda. Welcome to Court Radio.
Hi, Dean. How are you this morning?
I'm wonderful. It's a beautiful day out in Philly, so,
Yeah, it is.
Tell me what it is that you want some advice on this morning.
I want some advice on wills in the state.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more.
Okay. This is it. My grandfather died from Alzheimer's, I'm going to say a year ago, and he left a will. He gave me a copy of the will, and he had the original. Okay, so like I said, he had Alzheimer's. He died March the 2nd last year. Now, this year, all of a sudden, we can't find the main will. We only have the copy, which I have. And I went to give the will to City Hall to register, and they were saying that they need the main one. I need to find out what can I do about that? Can it be possible that we can still use the copy, or what can be done?
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you this. There's going to probably have to be a hearing to determine the authenticity of that copy.
Yes.
Who's the beneficiary under that will?
I'm the head of the estate.
You're the executrix.
Will.
You're the executrix. Who's the beneficiaries?
Children and grandchildren.
Okay, not you.
No. Yeah, me too. I'm sorry.
You too.
Yes, me too.
Okay. And who prepared that will?
My grandfather did. He went to a lawyer underneath his union.
Has anybody gone back to that law office to find out if they have an original?
I went, and they said they don't hold the original. All they do is draw it up and give the original to the person who comes there, and the copy to the person, whoever is the executive.
Okay. Again, it sounds to me like there's going to have to be a hearing. How much is at stake? What's your grandfather's estate worth? Ballpark.
I'm going to say, okay. Ballpark, maybe 250, because there's a house involved.
Okay. Well, does the house have a lien against it, or is it free and clear?
It's free and clear.
Okay. So it sounds to me like there's enough money involved. The question I have is if the estate passed by intestacy, that's the way it goes when somebody doesn't have a will, would it be any different than if it passed as per the will? Or would the same beneficiaries get the money the same way as an intestate estate? These are questions. Go ahead.
All right. I have one of his children, right, that is going against everything. It's like he's trying to take over. Like he's in the home, he won't leave, and just, giving me a whole roundabout problem. And, like, he is the one that's like, look, what's going on? Because he's my father, he thinks that things should be just given to him.
Right. Well, there's always one of those in every will contest. And so that doesn't surprise me, but here's the thing. It's if I'm your grandfather and I'm of sound mind and I have this will and I decide one day, hey, I don't want this will anymore. I'm going to go make a new one, but in the meantime I don't want to have any will, and I tear up that original will and throw it away. And you've got and then he passes away and you've got a copy. Of course, that's what the court's worried about. The court's thinking, hey, maybe the decedent didn't want this will, and since we don't have an original, we're not going to enforce a copy. And I'm sorry. No, that's all right. But what I'm saying is this stuff gets complicated, and it's not an easy. It's not an easy fix. Yeah, the easiest fix would be to find the original will, but without that, you may have to bring people in to testify that after he created this will, he was no longer of sound mind and could not have made a decision to destroy the will. But that may be a burden you're not going to be able to meet. We'll see. And if the only beneficiary is the decedent's child, and then everybody else is further down the chain, then he would benefit by having the will gone because he gets it all. And so if he's
he has 3 children.
Yeah, but his children don't take ahead of him. In other words, if he's the direct heir of the decedent and the only direct heir of the decedent, and there's no wife, nobody else, then he would get it all.
Well, my mother and he has another sister, my aunt also. But well, sisters are on the same plane as him. So so then it might get split 3 ways. The siblings would have to split it 3 ways. Somebody needs to coach you all, and here's the bottom line, and then I got to run. You need to call Saul on Tuesday morning at my office, because Saul does all of the
estates and wills and fights and all that kind of stuff, and he'll be able to sort this out in no time. Just give Saul a call on Tuesday, 215-227-2727.
Okay.
All right.
Tuesday morning, you say?
Yeah, because he's not in tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, take care and have a great Sunday.
Thank you. You too.
Bye now. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Martina from Mount Airy on line 2. Hi, Martina. Welcome to Core Radio.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my
I've been
pleasure.
listening and enjoying everything you've been saying. I have 2 quick questions.
Okay.
My first question is, I was granted a judgment. I had someone build a bad deck, and I had to sue him over it. He defaulted and didn't show to court. I won by default. I tried to do a writ of execution and a levy on him to get the money, and he ignored all of the sheriff's notices. So they sent me the letter telling me there was nothing more that I can do. When I paid the gentleman, he put his wife's name on the bank account. So when I tried to execute the levy, they told me that the bank account was not in his name. So I assume it's in his wife's name. Can I go back and sue the wife?
No.
I can't sue the wife.
No, because she wasn't a party to your contract, and she has there's no connection between her and your contract, and the claim is based on a breach of contract. So, no, you couldn't sue the wife. I don't see any connection from her to you.
Oh, okay. Well, she's the reason why I got him in the first place. But
yeah. She gave you some bad advice, huh?
She acts as his secretary, and, so is there anything else I can do? Am I just SOL?
I think, I don't know. See, you got this judgment. Okay, and as long as you renew the judgment, and every 5 years, you go down to City Hall and just renew it. It's just filing a piece of paper. The judgment will stay forever. If he owns property and dies, you're going to collect. So will you ever collect? You might, but it's a long shot. And I tell people who come to me with contract matters, look, you're not dealing with Coca-Cola. You're dealing with some schmo who made a bad deck, and he's got no assets, and the assets he has could be judgment proof, because if he owned a home and the home was in his and his wife's name, because it's owned as a married couple, it gets special protection, and you can't even collect against that home.
Okay, now I understand. Okay.
So you need to find an asset that's in his name and his name only, that is accessible to you. And I don't see that, oftentimes, I don't see that happening in these little, cases. But I would continue to renew the judgment, and you never know. Good fortune may shine upon you one day.
That doesn't sound promising. Okay, one last question.
Yes, dear.
I had a car, here's another car accident, 9 months ago on 9/11. There was excessive sand on the road from the city on Kelly Drive, and at 30 miles an hour, my car spun out of control, went up an embankment, and I had rolled over twice. Oof. I was uninjured.
Wow.
However, my car was totaled, and I had to buy a new car. Are they only on the hook for? I had total collision, so my insurance company gave me like $4,500, but I had to turn around and deplete all my assets to buy a car.
Okay.
So now I'm going after the city, and they're telling me that the only thing they're responsible for is your deductible. Is that true, or do I have a legal case?
I hate being the bearer of bad news to Martina every time. I do. I want to tell you everything's going to be okay, and and just give me a call, and I'm going to make it all right. But that would be a big lie, and I'm not lying on Sunday morning. So,
okay.
I would say the city's correct.
Okay.
And I get this all the time from clients. Like, let's say it's not the city. Like somebody just popped you in the rear, and you ended up getting your car totaled. And the same scenario, you got to go out and buy a new car, and you're going to spend $20,000 for a new car, and you had this perfectly good car at $4,500, and you were happy with it. Can you get more than $4,500? And the answer is no, because all the law requires is the person who caused you to sustain that loss is to put you back in the position that you were in before the loss. You were driving around in a $4,500 car. So they would make this, any at-fault party, whether it's the city or anybody else, give you $4,500. Here, your own insurance gave you the money, so the city technically would have to pay back your insurance company but give you your deductible, and that's all. And then you're supposed to take that money, go back out into the marketplace, and find a $4,500 car that's comparable to yours. And that's really, they want to put you back in the same position, not driving, a brand new Lexus because you said, hey, I'm not getting a $4,500 car now. I can't find one I like, so I'm going to go buy this Lexus. No, that puts you in a better position than you were in before the loss.
Okay, I understand.
All right, dear. Thanks for calling. Sorry for the bad news. Hey, listen, call back next week and ask me something that I can tell you good news about.
I just might.
All right, take care.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Folks, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these sponsored announcements.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. You've had an accident and can't work, but your legal case seems like it's taking forever, and the bills are piling up. At ThriveVest.com, we're here to help. If you have a pending lawsuit, call us at 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com has flexible solutions to get you money now. And if your case doesn't settle or you don't receive an award, you owe us nothing. Call 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com. Get the money you need to get on with your life.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. It's Court Radio, and I'm Dean Weitzman. And this is your hour to ask any legal questions you have floating around in your brain that you think I might be able to help you with. And if you miss me today, you've got some issues. Perhaps you've got a motor vehicle accident or medical malpractice claim that you'd like to run by the office. You can always give us a call during the week at 215-227-2727. If I'm not going to be talking to you, somebody from my team will, and we'll get to your issues. 215-227-2727 during the week, and of course, on Sunday mornings with Court Radio. Let's talk to Darius on line 4. Darius. Good morning, Darius. Darius left. Okay, he wanted to know why felons can't own a firearm, and that's because there's a federal law which prohibits felons from owning a firearm, and that federal law trumps state laws, and therefore you're bound by that law. So I would say just make sure that if you're a felon with a conviction of anything that would be putting you in jail for more than a year, that you and even misdemeanors, if you're in jail for more than a year, then you are not ever, for the rest of your life, able to legally own a firearm. So there you go. Let's talk to Andrew from Mount Airy on line 3. Andrew, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks, and thanks for your patience.
Basically, my dad passed away, and he had a building, and he was renting out units, and I also was living in that building. And he has a bigger unit in that building. Right now, nobody's head of the estate. There is no will. I was wondering if I just went ahead and moved in that unit, can anybody really stop me, or can I really get in trouble later when this thing goes to court?
Probably the answer is yes. The unit belongs to the estate, and the estate is its own legal entity at this point. The moment Dad passed away, the law creates a fiction called the estate of your dad. And then all the property that was owned by Dad is now owned by the estate until the estate goes to court and passes that property to the beneficiaries, one of which may be you. But if you're not the sole beneficiary, then you could potentially run into some trouble from the other beneficiaries. And if they go to court, the court might be, angry with you for having taken it upon yourself to move into that unit, and it may not put you in the best light with the court. So I would say that, you should be pushing to have this estate wrapped up as quickly as possible and the properties passed out to you and the other heirs. And then you can move on with your life. But I wouldn't advise to jump into a unit that really isn't owned by you at this point.
Also, the building is a abandoned house next to our building, and the roof is leaking. How do I make the city liable for that problem?
Call licenses and inspections. Get them out there. Let them, take a look at the situation, because if it, and then of course you could always sue the city if they're the owner of that abandoned property at this point. Then they have an obligation to either take it down or make sure it's repaired properly so it doesn't damage anybody else's property. But I would start with licenses and inspection, L&I, and get them out there. All right, thanks. What?
The mortgage is all paid up on the property, and I was paying rent. Do I have to put my rent in an escrow account, or I don't have to worry about?
A lot of these questions can be resolved if you just got together with all the other heirs and figured it out. It's not like there's a law about this, but, technically, while the estate owns the property, you're a tenant as well as a beneficiary. And as a tenant, you have an obligation to pay your rent. So, yeah, you do, but they may forgive that rent for the time being. But, if they're not forgiving it, then, yeah, I'd put it in escrow. That's what I would do.
You do have a lawyer at your office that deals with head of the state
Absolutely. You just give Saul a call on Tuesday morning, same number you called to get me on Court Radio.
Would see if I need to help, his help with this.
Would there be a fee?
Yes.
Yes. We're private attorneys, and if you're going to be represented by our office in estate matters, there will be a fee. How much that fee is, and when he gets paid, whether it's coming out of the proceeds, from the sale of properties, or whether it's coming up front, it will be determined between you and Saul. But yes, there definitely is a fee for services rendered. Have a great Sunday. Thanks for being a caller to Court Radio and listener. With that, we're going to wrap it up, folks. This hour flew by. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody. But all you got to do is give us a call during the week at 215.